While Kurt's doing that, just a couple of notes from your introduction. I wanted to make sure you guys could all see the topics that came up, in part to show the diversity of your needs and interests, but also to show some of the similarities. I mean, I'm impressed at how many of you already have pre-existing digital content on the web. I mean, I rarely hear a business say, oh yeah, we're already doing Twitter. Of course we are. That's excellent. And some of you have a brand new website for the first time in the 21st century. I mean, some of you already have YouTube channels. I mean, there's a lot of, you have pre-existing stuff. You're not just coming at this new. And some of you are coming at this new. So it's important to see both of those. Now, Kurt will take us through this right here.
So, this is going to work? Okay, there we go.
It worked.
So, half of this question has already been answered because you're here. So you obviously think it's valuable. We're going to look a little bit at why use YouTube. Why? Access to your customers, engagement with them, and mobility sort of deals with just the whole mobile phone, smartphone increase in massive increase in use. So access, according to Nielsen, YouTube reaches more US adults ages 18 to 34 than any cable network. That's huge, and I'm assuming the 18 to 34 demographic is important to your business. Engagement. 75% of YouTube users agree that if there's a brand they love, they tend to tell everyone about it. So YouTube people are vocal fans about what they like. This comes from a couple different surveys, and later on I'll email you all when I get a list from Robin of everybody, or Robin will email you the agenda, and it has a lot of these as links. We can go and look a little bit greater length at them. 74% of customers said after interacting with companies or brands via new media, and YouTube and video would just be a piece of new media, I generally have a more positive impression of the company or brand. It's a great way to make a emotional impact with your customers. 52% of consumers say that watching product videos makes them more confident in their purchase decisions. As you guys were mentioning some of the different kind of industries that you represent, I came up with some immediate ideas of here's a great video that you could put on your, on your channel, and it helps people connect with your service, your product, in a positive way. This is something that we'll talk about a little bit more later, but I found to be a really, it seems small, but I think is really significant, that engagement with a brand rises by 28% when consumers are exposed to both professional content and user-generated product video. And what that means is if people are seeing videos about 51 Main shot by somebody other than 51 Main talking about it, that really escalates the impression that other people will have of that. So it's not just the video that you produce, it's the videos that others produce that you can take advantage of. I'm sure that there's tons of videos shot at the Snow Bowl, not by Snow Bowl people. And there's another statistic that I didn't put in here, but user-generated video about a product gets 10 times the exposure on YouTube that official product video from that company gets. So if Nike's got something showing their shoes off, they're actually getting 10 times the exposure by some kids somewhere showing off their shoes and blasting that to all their friends. So we'll talk more about user-generated content.
Does that user tag Shapeshifters? That's the name of my company. So it would be they would tag as they would upload their video to YouTube. They would tag Shapeshifters. And
Maybe.
that's how other people would find it.
Well, they may or they may not, and getting your fans, your customers, to do things like that, to tie them back, or for you to be actively seeking those things out and tying them back to your channel or your website. That's part of the what we'll be encouraging, I guess. And then some things about mobility. 40% of YouTube watch time now in the US is on mobile devices, and that's grown massively just in the last couple of years. So the question there is, would you rather read something about a product on that screen, or would you rather see it in action or service? And then lastly, I have 2 kids, so this is my answer. Why use YouTube? Because I said so. Do you want that advertisement for Pepsi? Or do you want that ad for Pepsi?
Jeez.
So a real short version of why use YouTube, and then we're going to be looking much more at how to do that.
Want to swap machine?
I'm just going to switch over here.
Just ask while we're switching technologies. Quick show of hands. How many of you watch YouTube on a desktop or laptop computer?
As well as?
Well, no, just at all. And how many of you on the tablet computer? Yeah, it's interesting. Just look around and see the number of hands there. And you have a tablet with you right now, but you're not raising your hand. And how many of you watch YouTube on a cell phone? More than tablets. That's interesting. This is a snapshot that tells you a lot.
Shall I pass these out?
Sure.
We have, I'm going to pass out made copies of things, and you may want to take notes. And if you already have it, just pass it along to the next people. But here are.
Yeah, and if people grabbed them early, we ran out of staples across the library, and I felt really bad about emptying everyone's stapler.
I think they got stapled.
Right, yeah, we finally got staples. Jennifer, thank you, finished the stapling. But there are 2 packets that are each 2 pages long, stapled, and then there's a single page.
So I'm taking all 3, yes.
Right, so if you grabbed only one single page, you're missing some stuff. And it's more for later reference. What would be ideal is if we had a follow-up in a computer lab where you could actually just sit down and bang, 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 create your channel. And we'll look at possibilities to do that. I have some connections in the schools, and certainly after 3:30, there are computer labs in town sitting with nobody using them. But there's also computers here in smaller groups that we can do things. So we're going to watch a few short videos different times today, and this first one is just to give an overview of how to create the channel. There is tremendous resources on YouTube about how to do YouTube things, or how to do anything for that matter. But wading through them sometimes is the hard part. So you'll get links to all these videos, and these videos are for the most part pretty good, as opposed to, somebody just throwing up a how do you do this, and there's ums and ahs, and it takes you 20 minutes to get through it. So some of these I've or all of these I've gone through and selected them so you can come back to them and they'll be helpful later. Something else about YouTube is they frequently change things. So try, if you want to, how to start your channel, don't find one from 2012. It's changed since then. This is very up to date, which is why it only has 260 views. And you can refer to it later. So.
Hi, if I'm going to make a YouTube channel, look at that on YouTube, or click on sign in.
Okay, that threw me for a second, because. Okay, now we're. Yeah, other way around if we get this light down.
Hi, today I'm going to make a YouTube channel with a brand new Google account on YouTube. Going to click on sign in, and instead of using the Google account email address and password that are there, I'm going to create an account. And on this page here, I'm creating a Google account. I'm going to enter my real first and last name. And that is because that's how I identify myself to Google. If I ever need to get in touch with them, whatever information you feel comfortable with supplying, as long as you remember it, that's what you enter in these two fields here. And then I'm going to give them my email address. Now, it doesn't have to be a Gmail, and as you can see, it's a private domain, but you could also give it a brand new Gmail email address, which is what I'm going to do shortly. And then you give your Google account a password and you confirm it, and then enter your date of birth. Now, this is your date of birth. It is the date of birth that relates to the names in the top two fields. Don't enter a sort of a trading date, or creation date for a band or a business. Then enter your gender and your mobile phone number. This would be the mobile phone number that you're going to use to verify, but also to recover. You can skip the verification and the captcha if you want to, but I prefer not to. Then you're going to enter your location, and finally you're going to actually agree to the terms of service and the privacy policy before going on to the next step. And on the next page, you have the option to...
So I'm not expecting you to remember every step of this as how to, and this is the whole workshop. The paperwork that you've got spells out some of these steps, and there are things that you want to consider for businesses that are different than setting up a YouTube account just for you. But things like, don't tie it to your personal Gmail account. We'll talk about some more of those things after this.
Clicking the right-hand top icon onto YouTube settings, which is that cog, and on this page I have the option to create a YouTube channel for that Gmail. And on this pop-up here, you'll see that I'm being asked whether I want to use Skitroladida, which is actually the name that I ended up entering in the Google profile, or whether to use a business or other name. Now, the option to use this or that is because it is possible to create an individual person's YouTube channel or a business YouTube channel or a brand, if you like. Opting for that, you would actually create the brand name. That's not the URL, that is actually just the title. Agree to the page's terms of service and obviously select a category and on to finished. Now going back, I'm actually going to show you what it looks like if you use your profile. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to change it to a test account.
So most likely what you'll set up during this phase is an email that's tied to your business, that's accessible to multiple people, so it's not solely one person who has access to YouTube, but it'll be your business account.
I'm going to proceed anyway, and as you can see, my Google Plus profile is now called a test account full stop, and if I then go to YouTube, I'm using that particular name, and yes, I'm okay with that. And as you can see, the title of my YouTube page is a test account, no full stop. And if you look here at the top, you'll see that the unique channel.
I'm just going to pause it here for a second while we're in the totally blank, brand new YouTube channel. I lost my laser. The little icon of the person here is really set up to be for you guys would be a business logo. It's a nearly perfect square. I think it may be a perfect square. So that's something you'll have control over. And this long rectangle is what's known as the banner art. And this will show up differently on different devices, on a computer, on a TV, on a mobile phone. So think of this right now as it's one slice of a much larger picture, and we'll get into a little bit about that, but that's also something you have control over. If you get to a site where you just see that blank slice, that person hasn't, or that company hasn't taken advantage of that.
Is that recommended to be a photo?
Yeah, it'll be a photo, and actually you have one of the pages that has measurements. That's actually a massive photo. It's 4 times the resolution of your typical computer screen, because if you were to blow it up and watch it on Apple TV, or if you saw it on a higher end monitor, the resolution is pretty high. And then on a computer or on a mobile phone, you're just seeing a slice across it. Later on, you'll get a copy of the agenda. It has a link where you can download the templates to do that. If you have graphics, and several people mentioned that they're graphic designers, but if you have somebody who handles design for your company in-house, I'm sure they would be able to use that template to design something that will look good. And we'll look at a couple local examples in a minute.
A URL that's appearing, and that's preceded by channel, and then these random characters that follow that. So this is not a custom URL, that is the unique URL that every channel has. But I can set that as a custom URL, and for that I'm going to go back to the top right hand side, and I'm going to click on YouTube settings again. And this time I'm going to go on to advanced, and I'm going to give it a custom URL. Now, if I type in the one that I want, another test account, for example, I'm being told that that's not available for me to do this.
So that's going to be a very important place. So you guys don't have an address that ends blah, 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 blah. You have youtube.com/Middlebury College Snowball or little press room, you know.
And note that whatever
It'll make
I
sense.
choose, I'm going to have to accept that that is permanent. So once I set a custom URL, whatever it is going to be permanent. So create channel URL, and there we are. I've created my customized channel URL. And as you can see, if I go to my YouTube channel, it actually shows me the unique URL still. But if I click on any of these tabs here, the channel URL changes to what I've set the custom URL to. And that's how you create a YouTube channel in 2014. Thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Okay, so we are going to look at a number of local Well, first, while we're here, I oversee 4 YouTube channels, 1 for MCTV, 2 for Ilsley, and my own. And just real quickly, here's an example of a banner. Whoops. Hey, that's my voice. Stop.
You'll find a lot of
I liked this when I first designed it, but it's a little cluttered and clunky, and I want to redesign that. But it gives you a sense of, that's part of a much bigger photo. When you're just seeing a slice across it, you see our little icon. But we're going to look at a couple businesses. But when I first started looking, I hope that spells Middlebury, yeah. When I first started looking to see what YouTube channels are we going to show today, and I typed in Middlebury Business just to get as a starting point, I thought it very interesting what we find here. The very first video, I happen to know about that because Tim O'Leary, who's a high school teacher, had his students creating mini documentaries, and that was one of them. That the first thing that gets there is produced by kids, not by someone in the business community. And then looking down, we obviously get several Middlebury College Of course, doing risky business, which is really what we want when we type in Middlebury business. But not a lot coming up there for business. Then we get to Middlebury, Indiana, and I'm sure Middlebury, Connecticut will show up. And we'll talk a bit, and Brian certainly knows a lot more, and somebody mentioned search engine optimization. You know, what are some of the words you use in describing your site and describing your videos so that people do find them? But we'll look at a couple businesses now. And we're going to go to their channels as opposed to... So, here's a little audience participation part. What do you notice so far? What you know about YouTube, what we've talked about so far this morning?
It's easy to set up.
It's easy to set up. How about their channel?
It looks nice. It's very clean.
It's clean. I'll scroll down a little bit so you can see.
It's really showing the logo is a little, doesn't fit. in the
Okay,
box.
their logo doesn't fit. That was one of the things that I noticed right off. I'm not a graphic designer, but that logo doesn't fit. That icon is very specific size, so make sure that the logo that you're going to put in there fits. Nice picture of the falls, and remember that this is just a slice of a bigger one. If you checked it out on your phone right now, you'd get something very similar looking. We can't show it on like Apple TV, but you'd want that picture of the falls to be, you know, really, really big. If it cuts off somewhere up here, you know, you'll have not so nice looking stuff beyond it. If
Are
we,
you saying that you shouldn't make a banner at the exact size?
you should really consider what you want in your banner because it's going to show 3 different ways. So really look at it on all those devices. Make sure that it looks the way you want it to, because when we shrink it, at some point it starts shrinking, and then as I expand it, it's just going to stay the same size.
Is there a size, is there a place to
Yep.
find out what's?
On that form, it has those sizes, and I'll give you a link to templates that you can download.
Thank you.
And even after, and some of it is, hopefully, graphic designers know more about this than I do, because when I did the Ilsley one, it's a massive marble background. And then across the middle, there were some books, a little film reel, so that if you keep expanding it on a TV, it still looks like it's all part of the same thing. You don't want to suddenly have a weird background. But I had to fine tune it. I had to go, okay, the film reel needs to be a little bit over in this spot. It doesn't look as good there. So it's not, perfect one stop, just drop it in and it works. But the sizes are important. So as we scroll down here, they have 3 videos. I don't know how small the font is, how much you can read. Not much. Anybody in the front row
Yeah,
notice anything?
I would never watch the middle video because it's too long. Also,
Middle-
the last update was a year ago.
That was the thing that struck me looking at the pages. The last update was a year ago, and that's I think typical. People will start something. They're like, "This, YouTube, we got to be there." Start something and get something up, and then it's hard to find the time to keep doing that. So, how often you update? More is better. There's probably a place where it becomes frenetic and people stop paying attention to you. But you want to update regularly and frequently. They've got pretty good page views, I think, for these. I wondered, I was like, why is Jessica's Restaurant one significantly less than the other one? I don't know. I haven't watched them. Length is important. Generally, online video, people don't spend more than 2 or 3 minutes watching any particular thing. There are statistics about people spending 15 to 30 minutes max watching stuff on YouTube. And do you know anything current on that?
Yeah, one reason is we know that for lectures, people are willing to take about 12 minutes. That's kind of the upper limit for that. So we may be hitting a kind of cognitive limit in the human brain for how much video it can take at once. and I was struck by someone in the front row said that the second video was too long.
Yeah.
And how long is it?
3 minutes,
3 minutes
27
and
seconds.
27 seconds.
And why was that too long for you?
Because I usually, if something's 2 minutes, I'll watch it, but no more than that. It's just, I don't have the time.
And you aren't one of these 15-year-olds raised on new media with massive ADHD, right? You are an adult.
I
And
am
so
an
you're
adult.
kind of the nominal audience in many ways. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. I mean, 15 minutes is a long time. Especially with mobile devices, mobile phones particularly, people often watch video as a kind of snap, right? When they're in the line, or sometimes when you shouldn't do when you're at a red light, or where you're checking out a book. I mean, it's not the place for a 15-minute video.
Okay, so then looking to one of the larger businesses in town, I searched for Otter Creek Brewing, and here's somebody else's interview with one of the brewmasters, and then their stuff starts showing up pretty regularly. Take advantage of these other places. Vermont PBS, here for the beer. Because let's next look at their Otter Creek's channel itself. So, real quick responses to this.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Very professional.
Yep, professional looking.
Still not really up to date. 2 months ago.
2, 4, 6, 9.
I think that's fine.
Yeah, so I mean they're on a some sort of a regular update schedule.
But it's all of them. It's their post every time.
It's their posts every time. Well, this partly what we're looking at here is this is showing all of their activities, so showing all their posts. We'll get into taking advantage of other people's stuff. What else do you see here on this page? Both if we're at the very top, and then I'll slide down a little bit. What else do you see that we haven't talked about?
Many subscribers, 43 subscribers.
The links
Okay.
for their Facebook page.
Their Facebook. Yeah.
So subscribers,
Instagram.
they have a link to Facebook, Google+, the little bird's Twitter,
Yeah.
Instagram. You kids these days, all your social media. You can put a variety of links up here. What else do you notice?
I don't notice it, but it's bringing up something that I look at when I go to YouTube. So sometimes a company like that will have a video that is appropriate over a long period of time. Maybe it's showing the bottling process or something like that. So they might not refresh it on a consistent basis, but the important thing is to bring the viewers to it. So what I look at is if you clicked on that video, I would look at how many people viewed it, and that says something to me. So it's just something I want to put out there.
Yeah,
So
we
it's getting people to view the video
Yep.
through other means, whether it's emails or other social media. That's, I think, really important.
Right, because YouTube is just the starting point. It's what you do with it afterwards. And one of the huge values for some, how many of you are business to business? Anybody? Most of it was you guys are business to consumers. Business to business? 1, 2. Okay, and then there's Rutland. Was it Rutland? You kind of count in that realm, I guess. Because business to business may not have a lot of traffic originating through YouTube. You don't go to YouTube to say, like, where do I find, large chemical supplier? But the videos that you create and store there can be embedded on your website, and it can just be, you can use YouTube just as the housing for your video. My family has a family business where my brother is now running it, and if we have time, we'll look at a little bit of the how you might do business to business video. But
I have a question.
Yep.
It just says Otter Creek. Is that the name of the channel?
Yes, this is the name of the channel. The video that we had that told how to do it. So this is the name of the channel. You want to be very thoughtful about naming things with this, both naming the email that you use to set it up, naming the channel, because like they said, you get, it's permanent after you do this. YouTube has changed its way of doing this multiple times. I got my YouTube channel started a number of years ago where, as an individual, they hadn't really given thought to businesses yet. It was just everyone would have a YouTube channel of their own. So it's my personal email that is not a Gmail account. Then Google bought YouTube and changed some things there. So things may change or will change, but be thoughtful about how you name things, because that's the area that seems like it gets people into, you're locked into something. You can always change the graphics, but keep your business name. Usually that will be available. Like when she was doing her test account, everyone's setting up a test account, so that's why that name was taken. But be thoughtful about that. Yep.
So if this business went out of business and then Otter Creek Yoga wanted to set up a YouTube channel, would they be able to take this name?
They would have a unique URL, and you would have your channel name Otter Creek Yoga. But if and certainly there's a lot of businesses Otter Creek something.
Yeah.
So you may or may not run into some issues with things being taken. We're probably not in a position where we're worrying about people who are grabbing up like I love Nike to then sell the channel to Nike when Nike needs it. That's probably not happening here unless you guys are really popular and I just haven't met you yet.
This is a really good illustration of why it's important to sell your video in its description in the first 20 words, because in lots of different situations you're only going to see the first 15 or 20 words of your description that you've typed in for a particular video, because you see it gets truncated there.
Yep.
And so if you're kind of throwing in a lot of extraneous stuff at the beginning, and then we're going to hit home at the last part of your description, right, people aren't going to see that. You have to really kind of make sure that you front load it. And
right.
Make clear what the video is about and try to sell it quick.
Don't bury the lead.
Right.
Well, this goes back to the search engine optimization question in part, is that writing for the web, you really want to have the keywords as early as possible right off the bat, which often goes against some of the ways that we've been trained to write.
That's basically be like a meta description for...
Not even there yet. I mean, although what's interesting is description files and tags now often blur back and forth. We haven't gotten the tags yet, but Wynn was talking specifically about the prose description. And I would argue that when you mentioned the title, I mean, this is actually a key problem. That Otter Creek, I think, is a kind of dud as a title.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Robin, I was the first one here. Having come from another city, I came from the Midwest, I came to Middlebury, and I find a lot of the marketing and publicity is, I call it myopic. They just assume everybody knows where everything is and who everybody is, and they just use local names.
Right.
And when you're talking about YouTube, that's a
Welcome
global
to Maple
audience.
Landmark.
Well, this is something that came up in your introductions, which is that oftentimes you wanted to introduce your local content. Who's from 51 Maine? Yeah, so you want to get your bands out to a larger audience. A lot of you, especially the nonprofit, want to expand the audience. And a key part of that is to not think about Essex County, but to think of the entire billion-plus people online around the world, in which case you want to get out of that myopic vision.
Okay, changing to another one that's not Otter Creek something, but Maple. How many people are familiar with Maple Landmark? What do you notice different here?
They don't have the little square logo.
I'm scrolled down a little too far. It is there.
That was kind of merciful when you scrolled down.
Some of it, like I mentioned before, if you I can't drag out any, let me get rid of, if that gives us any extra width. At some point, this icon will start to obstruct things you have in that corner. So you want to, when you set up this graphic, drag it around, resize it, look at it on your phone. It's harder to look at it on, on a TV unless you've got, I think that's the smaller sort of percentage is going to be looking at that. But other than that, if this text were over further, I like that overall look there, because this icon frequently on pages gets in the way of stuff. So be aware of that. But I like the rest of it. I love their train. Taking the banner out of the equation for a minute, what are some things you notice here?
Not regularly updated, long videos.
Well, I don't know the company.
3 minutes, 153. They make wooden toys.
I don't know the company, so I wouldn't know what they did at this point. I still didn't know. I figured probably they were woodworkers or construction company.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know, so I think the banner should explicitly depict a wooden toy.
Right. If this said Maple Landmark Woodcraft or Wooden Toys,
Yeah.
naming your channel. What's different about this portion compared to the other couple that we looked at? Anyone?
Well, the way the videos are below the line
The
there,
display
way
of the
they display the videos.
The display of the videos. Okay, number one, this takes advantage of prime real estate. In the newspaper business, it's be considered above the fold. This is a channel trailer. The other channels that we looked at didn't have one. Otter Creek needs one. And when you see the next one, you'll see kind of a couple double whammies. They're getting more bang for their buck, and I'll explain that when we look at it. But this is a channel trailer. It explains, who your company is, what we do, why you should, buy our stuff, or what you should do. And
Are you able to keep that as a first position?
this is always the first position video that shows up when anyone comes to your website, to your channel, that hasn't been there before and is not subscribed.
So you can click on something that makes it stay at the top?
Yep. Then down here, their section is not just a chronological list of uploads. It's more intelligently done. This is a section called How They're Made, which several of you are in businesses where I think the how they're made will be really interesting to your customers. I would definitely encourage you to have that section, or 51, I don't know, a couple of them when I looked at the registrations ahead of time, and not all of you were on there, so I haven't been thinking about you as long as the other people that I knew about. But 51 Main was when I was like, there's some cool freebies that you can give away as how-to videos, how to make a drink. A 30-second video, boom, 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 it looks cool, people will like it, and that's the kind of thing that gets shared. Or recipes. Who is doing the sewing? There's great ways to make that thing. You can do the videos so that people can watch that at home and real short break it down. Here's this piece of what you need to do, and that'll save you time in the long run. Definitely takes time to put the videos together, but you'll save a lot of time on the back end when those people, you don't have to set it up for them to come in all together to get a demonstration. So channel trailer.
One more question.
Yep.
I'm
Well,
sorry,
no, it's-
maybe I missed this, but how do you put that channel trailer video in that spot? Is there
There are some.
a place that?
Yes, there's some.
Template that
Right.
says loaded into right here?
Yep. And a lot of those are like, because we don't have computers in front of us and we can't just walk you through it. Some of those things are in. This is the agenda with links on it that you'll get, and some of it is. You've got me to get in touch with afterwards. Some of it is just looking on YouTube and going, how do you do this? YouTube itself has a lot of, here's how you do this. Really short. They're not necessarily videos. They're just little quick how-tos.
Are you locked in, you're locked into your name and your custom URL and you can't go back. Is there anything else you're locked into that you can't alter after you've saved everything?
I don't think so. Most of the other stuff, like you can change your channel trailer, you can change these, you can move one up, one down, you can move a lot of stuff around. The name is, I think, the one thing I'd really caution to make sure you get that right. And some of you, hands again, how many people have YouTube channels already? Okay, so about a third. So some of it, you know, you're kind of, you may already be locked into things there. Sometimes just go, oh, new channel. You know, it'd be much harder for MCTV to just go, oh, we want a new channel. But YouTube, you can get one. What else do you notice here? How about this side of the screen? We haven't talked about that side yet. There's two different sections, featured channels and popular channels on YouTube. What do you think is more important? Featured, because that's actually something that Maple Landmark controlled here. If you look at some of these, Vermont Wood, you know, is much more connected to what they're doing. This is a place where I think there is a lot of potential for mutual back patting or mutual support. Most of you are not from competitive businesses where you're competing with somebody else in this room. But say the Swift House, if they had featured channels from restaurants in Middlebury or a link to the Chamber of Commerce, your featured channels is a great place to start working things together.
So we control that?
You control the featured channels. If it's one of those things you check the box that you want a featured channels part, and then you just start plugging them in. It's also a place if you have multiple channels. I know visual design said you want to consolidate things in one place, but if there's a real rationale for having different channels, you can have them linked together here. Like Ilsley has an adult YouTube channel and a kid YouTube channel because they're very different, but they're linked together here.
Well, our channel was actually just, it was a mistake in the beginning because they put it in as a private, individual email account. So I don't know, then you maybe delete it and then just use the one we have. That's like our brand.
Yep.
But with the featured channels too, would it be something like we want to put for us more science-based, like you could do National Geographic or NASA or something linked with those guys?
Yep.
Science-based.
Get Neil deGrasse Tyson's channel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, so it can be people that you don't have any official connection with, but it can also be stuff like, you're like, I'm putting you guys on our YouTube channel, will you link back to us? Think about, that kind of symbiosis.
There's a quick note in the question. In the blogging world, there's a long practice of blog rolling, where you have a list of links to blogs that you aspire to or simply like. And that can be as long as you like. And that's often, when you look at a blog, a good way to get a sense of who they are. If you look at a politics blog, you can tell what their politics are from looking at their blog world. Now, Robin had a question about length. Is there a maximum number of channels you featured?
Probably. I don't know what it is. Keep it small.
But 3 to 5 would be fine?
Yeah.
Can you get rid of that, the popular on YouTube section?
I don't know if you can get rid of the popular ones. Sometimes it seems like it shows up, sometimes it doesn't, because it's not, I don't think it's on all these. I scrolled down a little bit further. We were seeing videos primarily chronologically linked vertically. These are all horizontal sections, how they're made, product shorts, product reviews. Very interestingly, this is the area where we get other people's things. Marshall Publishing, lots of videos for kids. Any New England made shows, Small Town Big Deal, TTPM. I can't honestly say that they have no connection with Maple Landmark because I don't know. And they're referenced in the related channels, TTPM was. But these are links to somebody else's videos on their channel, because that's the kind of stuff where you're taking advantage of somebody else's work that puts you in a good light. So if you spend time looking, or you encourage using the Swift House as an example, if I were there and said, guests come in, you say, you guys are taking pictures and video while you're, vacationing. Do you have a YouTube channel? Find that out about customers, and if they do that legwork for you, you can put them on your channel.
What if something is connected to you that you don't necessarily want on your YouTube?
You have total control over whether it's on your channel. So I would not, if somebody pans you in a review somewhere else, just ignore them. But if you get a good, all of these are put on here by Maple Landmark. No one else can post a video to that. They can comment on it. If you look at, let's look at one of these videos done by somebody else. So we're at somebody else's channel. You start to get these comments. And it's worth paying attention. If it's your channel, you get an email as well when somebody comments on your channel. If you're big and popular, that can be overwhelming, but it's probably manageable for most people. Responding to your comments is a great way to build a relationship with your customers. There was an example in the press recently of somebody who wrote a horrible review of a restaurant on Yelp, and the owner, rationally, but you could tell there's some emotion behind it, responded to them and this is the full story, and and that took on a life of its own, and other people started commenting on it. So there's a place to use social media to interact with your customers when they're not in your store or at your inn or whatever. You notice that video started playing automatically. That's what the channel trailer does when you come to that page. So that's another feature of that. I'm going to jump to one more.
That looks great.
Yeah.
The banner.
Very, very sharp. Personally, I'd like it if there was a little more sky here, so that icon was up in the sky and not there, but that's a small quibble. Link to their website, Google+. Google bought out YouTube, so that's kind of, you by default have Google+, even if you're not really using it. Facebook, Twitter, 327 subscribers. These related channels, I don't think have anything to do with Woodchuck, so I don't think those are ones that they put there.
Is there any way to get rid of those, or do you?
I don't think you can put in ones that you want, because I think that's the place where it's calling related videos, but you see there's no popular videos, but I think that's being generated by YouTube somehow. If you put in links to channels that you want over there, they will take precedence up in the top, and if the popular stuff is there, it'll at least bounce it down.
So would you advise that?
Yes. All of you have relationships within the, just locally that I think you could take advantage of, and you could put somebody in those other links, even if it's just to the Chamber of Commerce. Does that make the Chamber of Commerce? Is that bad? No. Okay. I know.
Could be the Better Middlebury Partnership.
Right.
Or, whatever your associations are, and then you could ask them to do the same thing for you. So it's sort of like
Yeah.
on your website.
Robin, do you have a playlist of Middlebury business YouTube channels?
Do we what?
Do you have a playlist of Middlebury business YouTube channels?
No.
Just
Maybe we should talk.
Right.
Take like 5 minutes, really,
Right.
but just make that available, and you can either hide that, make it private, or you can just share it so everybody else here can get a list of them. Yeah, I can help you do that. It's really easy.
Yep.
Playlist, Middlebury business for Addison County.
Okay, something else that is a little bit harder to see here, but this channel trailer is called Oliver A's Woodchuck Cider 20th Anniversary Contest Entry. It's from 3 years ago, but that was not created by Woodchuck. They sponsored a contest, and that must have been the winning one. It's up there. We're not going to watch it because it's a little bit long here for the remaining time. But that's taking advantage of building the brand with your customers and having them do what you can't. A number of things. They have. Brian was mentioning the word playlist. This is a section here, but you can also think of it as a playlist of here are videos from that contest. Here's a round woodchuck.
What's the difference between a playlist and a section?
Really nothing. It's probably more semantics, I guess. Usually.
Can you title the section?
Yes. Yeah, you have control. If you just leave it by default, your uploads will be the first thing that is shown, and that's not always the best. It does show the most current, so if you want to have your current thing at the top, that can be a way of doing it. But it depends on your business what you think really comes up there.
Can you spend a few minutes on how to upload and what some good video programs to use to generate YouTube videos?
From its uploading is really simple. If we were logged in here, you just click on this upload button. It gives you a window. You either copy and paste or just drag it in from your desktop. So uploading is really, really simple. And then there's some things that'll give you a little area to put description in. It'll give you a place to put tags and thinking about how you tag it. Marketing people know a lot more about that than I do, but that's going to be the things that when people are searching, what do they need to type in for them to find your video. In terms of producing the video, I'll give you the kind of thumbnail version because that's really a whole nother workshop is producing. But you're either kind of in a Mac or PC world. We have 4 Macs here that are accessible to you through the library that have iMovie. Which is a free program that comes with Macs, and it'll do 95 to 99% of any video editing you need to do. We use it for the TV studio, and you could have as professional looking things done with iMovie as you can with something else. If you're really needing to push video production to its highest capability, probably you don't need to be here. There are other packages to do that. You'll start paying much more for the editing software. In the PC world, the cheapest, simplest comes with the PC. It's called Windows Movie Maker. It's definitely clunkier, and I don't know much about it. I've helped one of the schools with it because that's what they had, but it's not something I know a lot about. And
it works well enough at a basic level, and the price is great.
Right, can't beat the price.
Yeah. Above that, I would recommend using Adobe Premiere, which costs a little bit, but for the PC side, that's a pretty reliable video engine. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, we bought a combo pack of Adobe Photoshop Elements, which is the consumer version, and Premiere.
Yeah.
And the Photoshop, you can use it to edit your photos and resize your graphics so it fits in a little square. And then the Premiere, you can do some editing. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's not, that difficult.
Right.
And it's fairly reasonable price.
Yeah, you kind of figure out your price point, $0 to $50, 50 to a couple hundred, or more. If you really wanted to invest in video for your company, $1,000 will get you a great camera, a great tripod, and you've got access to editing here if you need it, if you want to, not make the jump all at once. For $500, you can have an adequate camera and, an adequate tripod.
What about music and uploading music copyright-free music?
Yeah, I know a lot more about non-commercial copyright-free music because there's a lot of things that people make available for non-commercial use. I don't know as much about commercial. You'd need to either get somebody to create it. 51 Main's got the advantage of, the bands can just, sign something for you. That'd be great to. But music is an issue. There are places online where you can get free music that's royalty-free, but a lot of it is intended for non-commercial stuff. So, do you know any more about that? I don't know much.
Yeah, I mean, basically, music is often a serious pain. I mean, if it is copyrighted, then you have to ask for permission, especially as a business. You can't claim fair use and try to use it for a video. So you'd have to ask it. And some musicians would be glad to give you their music for free or for a little cost. It's always worth asking. If they don't respond, that doesn't mean they're giving you tacit approval to use it for free. That means they haven't responded. The free music world, free and copyright-free world, there's quite a lot out there. There's sites like Disquiet, which give you free electronic music. A Barcelona University has a wonderful site called Free Sound, which is just sounds that are licensed to be used. Most of them are not music. Most of them are ambient sound of any kind, like car noises, thunder, snowfall, but that can be very useful. The other thing is on the Mac side, there's a terrific program called GarageBand, which comes pre-stocked with audio files that are copyright-free. And you can just rearrange them and make music of any kind. By you, I mean anybody, not a musician. I mean, there's a lot that we can go into about video production. As Kurt said, that would be a whole different workshop. But you're asking the right questions.
I suggest you said iMovie. They've got a whole library of copyright-free material. And it's great for just a short video if you need.
Right.
Yes.
iMovie comes preloaded with a lot of sound effects and music that are free to use.
And images too, right?
Yep.
Yes.
So let's see where.
iMovie comes for free with your Mac, so.
Every time I do a digital storytelling class, inevitably someone will say, I've got a whole bunch of images, and I want to get some music, so how about the Beatles? There shouldn't be a copyright problem there, right?
In non-commercial use, I found if you use music on your YouTube video, they will ID it and then place a link to purchase that music right into your video. And so they don't slap your hand, it's non-commercial use, and I guess the artist in that case considers it to be a good advertisement for their music.
Or Google thinks the artist should think it's good use.
Right, and some of that is kind of evolving where the content ID for YouTube there's an algorithm that basically searches their database of things that copyright holders have uploaded to YouTube. So massive music libraries from BMI and ASCAP and the big people that just compare everything you upload to that database, and then as automatically generates a copyright infringement notice to you that it exists, that's copyrighted elsewhere. And if you are getting advertising on your site, that advertising is automatically stripped and sent to whoever owns the copyright. I was just reading about this the other day. So the fact that it's automated and you don't have any say in going, well, that's my own music. I performed it and have it one place. I'm actually a real musician and I have an album out and I use it in my own YouTube video, and then I get a copyright violation notice because YouTube sees it again. The fact that it's automatic is irritating some people, and I think it's evolving. But that's why you want to use stuff that is legal. So while we're on the producing side, if you wanted to really just dip your toe in, how many of you have a smartphone? I think everyone, nearly everyone. You've got the capability right there to shoot in probably higher quality than the TV studio could have given you 4 years ago. The things that will set you At a disadvantage are lighting and sound. Lighting, you can always add more light, even if it's just a lamp or a spotlight, or light it better. If you have to do audio, make sure your camera, your phone is close to whatever you're recording. You can buy external microphones. If you have jogging earbuds with a built-in microphone, that's a noise-canceling microphone. It's actually much better than you'd expect for the price, because it's meant to, I'm wearing a microphone and I'm making all sorts of noise. It'll cancel out like clothing noise rubbing on it, and you can use that as a microphone with your camera. But if you're going to use your camera, you have to watch this video.
This video didn't have to look this way. It could have been prevented. Say no to vertical videos.
Vertical videos happen when you hold your camera the wrong way. Your video will end up looking like crap.
There are more and more people addicted to making vertical videos every day. It's not crack or nothing, but it's still really bad. There are two different kinds of people who are afflicted with VVS. The first group treats the videos they shoot like pictures. They don't mean any harm. They just don't understand that while you can turn a picture, you can't really turn a video.
The other group is people who don't give it.
Vertical video syndrome is dangerous. Motion pictures have always been horizontal. Televisions are horizontal. Computer screens are horizontal. People's eyes are horizontal. We aren't built to watch vertical videos.
I love vertical videos! Nobody cares about you!
If this problem's left unchecked, YouTube will begin showing 4 videos at once, just to save bandwidth.
Letterboxed vertical videos would be the size of a postage stamp.
And it will spread everywhere. Movie screens have always been horizontal. If vertical videos become accepted, movie theaters will have to be tall and skinny.
And all the movie theaters would have to get torn down and rebuilt. And by the time they were rebuilt, Mina Kulis would be old and ugly.
Birds will crash into them and die.
And we will all get stiff necks from looking up.
And no one will sit in the front row ever again.
And George Lucas will re-release Star Wars again. The skinny edition.
I was never really able to tell the story that I wanted to tell. This was a great chance for me to experiment with a new technology.
You're a jerk.
Every time a mobile device is used to record video, the temptation is there. Just say no. Say no to George Lucas. Say no to old Mila Kunis. Say no to vertical videos.
And if you see someone doing it, say, "You're not shooting that right, dummy!"
Okay. So we're right at 10. I had sections that weren't kind of filled out in the agenda here about spreading the word. Using all the traditional and newer ways of getting news out to your customers. Whether it's an ad in the paper that now has a thing, see us on the web, and links to your YouTube channel. Certainly emailing out, Twitter. A couple things about interacting with viewers. We mentioned that there are comments that can be made underneath the videos, responding to them there. There are also ways where you can, there's something new that I haven't looked into called YouTube Direct, which on your website you can put a link where people can automatically send video links to you that you can then choose to put on your YouTube channel. So if you're going to do a contest, or if you just want, something, like the, trying trying to think, what is the Chili Fest? I'm like, blah. Where there's lots of vendors coming and there's lots of people with cell phones. You know, if we had kind of central police, like, you know, hey, you know, send us a video of you eating our chili, and, you know, we'll put it on our YouTube channel. That's new, which I think is pretty cool. And taking other opportunities to have your customers generate the video for you. And some of that is the same way that, you know, you should be Googling your own company, is, you know, be looking on YouTube for other mentions. If your product is something that is sold outside of Middlebury, it's being used there. You know, look and see, like Maple Landmark as an example, looking for, you know, other places that are posting videos where kids are using those toys is a great thing for them. Question and answer, and Brian and I will stay around and we can answer, you know, more specific things as well. But if you need to run off and get to work, we understand that. But questions?
Do you have business cards?
Sure.
Brian does. I don't.
I have a question about why is it beneficial to have a YouTube channel as a, just for the real estate perspective? We want people to go to our website and we want them to view the video on the website. Why would I have a YouTube channel?
You don't necessarily have to. You could just embed the video directly. I mean, whoever does your web design for you can talk to you how to do that. It is a good place because second to Google is YouTube for people searching for things. And it's a repository for all the videos. So, you know, you can organize it differently. And if people are really just looking for video tours of the houses you have available, you know, your website could steer them to YouTube instead of the other direction around.
There's also, I mean, you can think about it in big picture terms, that video is increasingly becoming kind of the central media output of our civilization. We increasingly watch video on all formats and all kinds. And this seems to be something that works for all ages, all demographics.
Read less, watch more.
That seems to be what we do. Not just read less, but also look at photos less. You know, I mean, listen to audio. I mean, podcasting, for example, is this terrific field. It's a great industry, and something's completely invisible. I mean, video is really, and YouTube is the main channel that we have for this. In fact, one thing that we know from television is this, have you heard of cutting the cord? Mm-hmm. This is a phenomenon where people stop buying cable TV.
Shh, don't talk about that.
Not to steal it, I know, but because they can get so much video content online through Hulu and through YouTube. So it just I mean, if you search for something, Google returns YouTube hits. So if you, I mean, so that's another reason. It's just, it may be that we're moving that way to being, it can imagine a future in which people go to your YouTube channel before they go to anything else. That's a long-winded answer to your very precise question.
Is Vimeo a player in any of this?
Yeah, Vimeo and Blip TV are really interesting. They're much smaller, but they have the advantage if you don't like Google for political reasons or whatever, these are alternatives. If you go to Blip TV and Vimeo, they have a lot of curated contests. You have quite a few artists who do things there. And I found a lot of video producers will actually use those rather than YouTube to showcase their work.
So as a business, YouTube is probably...
In terms of sheer outreach and sheer numbers, it's uncontested, really.
Yeah, my knowledge of Vimeo is people who are creating movies, short films, are putting it on. I mean, Vimeo has it's more of it's curated. It's a probably higher quality video. You might want to consider it in the arts and entertainment side of business, but for pure business, YouTube is so big that ignoring it is not a wise move.
So I want to thank Kurt and Brian for coming today and presenting to us. And I know you're going to stick around, but I sort of want to give it an official end so that people know they can go, and then these guys will be around. And it sounds like maybe we've got the opportunity for more workshops about how to do this, or maybe some sort of a monthly brown bag lunch where people say, here's my problem, or I've got all kinds of ideas I'll have to talk to these guys about.
Or just come to the library and ask.
Yeah.
I mean, I work all the way upstairs, but I'm here.
Yeah, lots of stuff here for you. So thank you all for coming, and don't forget the rest of our series too.